in the Cuban coffees almost every
Ay,
morning.
ay, ay. Cortadito, coño, vámonos.
All right,
Um,
awesome. Let's get started here. Thank you guys for being on early and tuning in and starting us off. Before we begin, I want to set the goal. I want to set the intentions. You know, A Course in Miracles says that the goal determines the entire experience when we set the intention, right? The words that come out of our mouths, the listening, the thoughts, the curiosity, all of that is guided by our intention and by our goals when we set it. A situation, the Course says, without a clear goal becomes confusing, and the ego will assign its own purpose. So when left unchecked, when we don't set the intention or the goal, the ego comes in and the ego wants to be right. The ego wants to compare. The ego analyzes and critiques. So, we're going to set the goal here. We're going to consciously set the goal and align it with the Holy Spirit and align our will with the will of God. And so today's goal, today's gathering here is very simple. It is for us to remember who we are, is to remember in each other the spark that we all share. We're here to heal, to love, to bring more peace to our mind and compassion and sympathy and empathy to our hearts. And we're here to see each other. We're here to learn. And we ask that the Holy Spirit guide us in our questions, our thoughts, guide us in our curiosity, guide us in our shares today. And may what come of today's call, may the whole dialogue of the alchemy of self meets A Course of Miracles be a space for remembering who we truly are. And let us light the way for each other, and let us remember that the alchemy happens through the self. You know, it's unfolded through us. We don't have to do anything. So, yeah, opening the space up for peace and for love. Amen, I hope.
Amen.
And yes,
Amen.
Purple
Yeah.
Eagle Tribe in the house.
Yeehaw, mama. What up? What up? Beautiful intention. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very aligned with the work that we do in psychosynthesis.
Yeah. So let's just open right there with that. Like, maybe we introduce you guys first. I'm going to introduce first. So Adam and Claudia. Let's see. I actually met Adam's mom before I met Adam, and we had a really great relationship. And she's like, "You must meet my son Adam." And the time was aligned when we sat in a medicine ceremony together, and I met Claudia also there, and it was just a really epic connection right off the bat. And a week later, I was at their wedding, and we just became the closest of brothers and sisters. And the Purple Eagle Tribe, founded by Claudia and Adam, is the main tribe that stems from my heart. I feel like the Purple Eagle Tribe blood flows through me. And I love this community. I love everybody in it. I love the space that you guys have held, and the body of work that you guys teach of the alchemy of self through psychosynthesis. So, yeah, I'm so honored to have the two of you here. It's been long overdue, and yeah, you guys have made such a big difference in my life, and I'm just so grateful for the journey that we're on together. And proud and honored to have you on this call here today to share your work and to present you to the world, or the Course of Miracles, more of the Course of Miracles world. Spotlight you guys. And I know a lot of people feel the same. You know, the lives that you guys touch and the impact that you guys make is profound, and it's an honor to be here with you guys.
Well, thank you. I'll spend the call just expressing gratitude, but thank you so much for who you have been in our lives since we met. I mean, it was clear that we've been, journeying through many lifetimes together. We just found each other again, and it's just been such alignment and connection since the very beginning. And, it's just such an honor to be here. I'm getting all kinds of butterflies all day. I just missed the call, but it's just really, it's been long overdue. And it's just such an honor to, first of all, be your friend, walk the path of healing and awakening together. We were one of your biggest fans. We just support all of your work, everything that you do. ACIM, real estate, anything that you're doing, we're there, and it's just been profound connection since we've met. So thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. And, going all the way back to, I had heard your name, Alex, for so long before I actually met you. And then to be able to sit in a heart space for hours and hours and hours and not even feel the call to get up and go anywhere else and be like, so what are you doing next weekend? Yeah, we're getting married on an ashram, kind of thing. And you're like, I got to fly in or something, you made it happen. And, you with spirit and what always calls to my heart. And I've shared this with you mano a mano, is inspiration. So, because of who you are in our space, we actually, Claudia and I both have talked about how we feel inspired to give more, to be a space, to keep asking different questions and keep giving it over to God and keep giving it over to the Holy Spirit and keep smiling and playing our song, even in the moments when things feel a little constricted. And you've been with us for years now and have been one of our biggest cheerleaders and inspirations, and the amazing human beings that are all around you. There's many of you on the call that we've had these conversations and we're like, yeah, forget about it. There's one person that gets that one, and like, it means a lot to even be here with you and with all of you right now. But thank you, Alex, for the opportunity to be here with you.
Yeah, anytime. So let's jump into it a little bit because Alchemy of Self, like what a name also, right? This is such a great framework and, teachings that you guys bring to the table. And it's the teachings behind or the trainings of psychosynthesis, right? And so I put that on our main flyer. So let's just go right into that and maybe talk a little bit about psychosynthesis and how you guys came to this body of work and what is it?
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, great question. I'll start with the name, right? You started with that, the Alchemy of Self. That actually came through about a year and a half ago from Spirit, right? It's all guided. And really the intention was, how can we guide people through what we live every day, the experience of life that we have. And, and the Alchemy of Self is the foundation of it is psychosynthesis. And but it also combines, over a decade of our own practices and all different teachings, shamanic, mystery schools, really bringing all of what we have learned into a program that can deliver the transformation, the freedom, the inner peace, the connection to higher self, and that we experience through the body of work. And so psychosynthesis came to our lives. I was searching for a coaching program for a long time. And there's just so many different coaching programs out there. And through a connection with a dear friend of ours called Val Silitker, some of you know her. She's a powerhouse here in South Florida. She's leading coaching certifications through her institute called the Psychospiritual Institute. And so she just invited us in, and just like with everything, I always kind of feel the call, right? I feel that call within. And we took the certification program back in 2020, and it was exactly what I've always been looking for. I was like, oh my God, here it is. And and so I can talk a little bit about what psychosynthesis is. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and the alchemy. Alchemy of self. So, there's a beautiful, we can get into a little bit about how this merges with Course in Miracles and the two play so well together, really with any modality of seeking greater meaning of who I am, who we are. But the alchemy, just speaking into that, there's the alchemy of masculine and feminine and the balance of that. There's the, the shadow aspect and the light, the yin and yang. There's the alchemy of lower unconscious parts of ourselves, what we call subpersonalities in psychosynthesis, that are, kind of our operating system that may not necessarily be in our conscious awareness, but they are informing every feeling, choice, action that's happening. But when we bring those shadow elements into the light, what's happening really is lead to gold, which is really where the word alchemy came from. Like we're taking these nuggets of shadow and bringing them into light, like light workers, right? And doing so in such a way with a framework where there's a step by step by step, and all these things just, you don't just rip Pandora's box open and be like, oh my God, what are all these parts of this thing? And I don't know who am I, And there's a lot of that when we're in the spiritually inclined communities that are called to being on a call like this, or called to plant medicine work, or called to being on a yoga mat, or called to breath work, any called to cacao ecstatic dances. Like we can go on and on and on, and it's a seeking opening of the heart, but if there's a frequency of a shadow element that isn't quite being seen and acknowledged and brought into the light, that's really what the alchemy of self, it's like bringing into the capital S, where we can observe the parts of self from this higher self, this greater will, right? And that's where the Course in Miracles of the Holy Spirit kind of blends in there as well. So the alchemy of self came from our own kind of like practices and going through psychosynthesis training and accreditation, and then our own version thereof of birth, which is the alchemy of self. And that's what it is, blending together
And
polarities.
yes, it's a really powerful framework. So I'll just speak about what psychosynthesis is. So it's a spiritual psychology or a transpersonal psychology, which transpersonal psychology is a branch of modern psychology. The transpersonal, trans means beyond, right? So this transpersonal psychology takes into account not just the wounded, the fragmented parts of the self, but it's a holistic psychology, right? So it takes into account the whole being, right? The emotions, the personality, and also the spirit. And so that's why, to me, it was almost like it was an awakening just experiencing psychosynthesis, because, it incorporates spirit. How profound is that, right? Not just the psyche, but also the spiritual aspects.
Yeah, I think there is like two kind of frameworks that are out there. There's people that are just very completely spiritual, but really, there's no like structure around how to get there. It's just kind of like a feeling, and we're always kind of moving through either intuition or through feelings. And then there are the ones that are completely only in psychology and science, and there's no like bridge between the two. So it seems like what you guys are saying is you guys have found something, and you guys teach something that is the bridge between like science and Western psychology meeting like Eastern spirituality or something, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was founded in 1911 by a psychiatrist, doctor called Roberto Assagioli. And actually psychosynthesis, Assagioli first was studying psychoanalysis, right, which was big at the time.
With Jung and Freud. And
yes, with Freud. And he was actually invited to spend a weekend in Austria with Freud. And after spending the weekend there, he left. He said, I'm not interested in only the basement. I want to work with the whole house.
Yeah, I want the whole house.
I want to be able to go to the top and see the stars, right? And so I really feel that, actually this is something that is spoken within the psychosynthesis groups, is that psychosynthesis is a psychology whose time has come. Like back then, the consciousness of humanity wasn't ready for that. But I really feel there is this awakening that people are ready in their understanding that there are many dimensions to the self, right? To the personal self and transpersonal self. And so sometimes, psychosynthesis is called a psychology with a soul.
Yeah.
And so it's exactly what you said, right? It bridges psychology and spirituality in a way that is no woo-woo, right? Because psychology is a science.
Yeah.
And so Assagioli was, very interested in making sure that it's kept, from that science perspective, that it was, described and guided in a way that anybody could experience it.
Right.
And so, so it's that's why I think for me it was like, oh my God, finally, right? Because it really covers all of the whole experience of the human being.
Yeah, and what I love is, if we bringing in the different aspects, in the psychosynthesis community, which is a worldwide community that was flourishing very, very big in the 60s and 70s, and like any normal thing, any kind of different trainings or things, a little ego can get involved, and consciousness shifts, and then it goes to like, the 80s come, and then it's all like cocaine and rock stars and all the things. So like that, but now there's a reemergence. We call it the fourth wave of psychosynthesis. And there's a community actually in Europe that's a lot larger than the community here in the US. But for me, what the trainings and psychosynthesis in and of itself, it's not necessarily it's this way and this is the way that it always is. There is those frameworks, but the ideal is that we bring into, sorry, I'm going to put on do not disturb here real quick. Okay, there we go. Bring into what Claudia and I represent as Adam and Claudia, but then as our union together, and also the esoteric teachings of schools of mysteries and yogic philosophies and health and wellness and these different things. It's all blended into the alchemy of self. So be that, we're looking at up and down, like through chakras. If anybody doesn't, know what chakras are, most people on this call would, but we're starting from our root to our crown and even below down into the earth and way up into the stars. We have this vertical up and down, but then we also have polarities where we lean into masculine and feminine. And so there's this map that's actually like, where am I in this transcendence, or what would we say, when we go the descendants going down and we're like descending into the subconscious, or transcending into the transpersonal, but also like, where does it tie into our different energy centers in our body, and where am I leaning more into a masculine that can go into a distortion like control and maniacism, or like aloof and it doesn't matter. We're actually like able to see through the lens of tuning into the transpersonal, which is really the Course in Miracles space and the Holy Spirit, in observing these parts of self and having this map of what is actually going on. Let's say that we take this into a deep medicine practice, or breath work or meditation. Okay, this just came up for me. What do I do with this? What do I do with this new awareness? Now I have this awareness. Awareness is step one. Well, step one, who knows what step that is, right? But awareness comes along the way. And then we take this awareness, and then the concept, like what our real calling was, is integration. Integrating these parts of self. What does that part feel like it needs to do? Be more masculine or feminine? Where does it need to go? Do I need to anchor this into the 3D, go into my subconscious and be with this for a little while and learn from it? Or give it away to God and learn from this universal will that's happening only all the time? So in that mapping, we've seen, and in our own personal practice, like if we're not personally practicing, we're not putting it out there because that wouldn't be integrous for us. But in our personal practice, it's like being able to observe what's actually happening and implore the skill, or deploy the map of psychosynthesis, in this case, the alchemy of self, into what's going on. And then bringing in some different relational aspects of, especially like in couples or even in business relationship, how do we create agreements? Because I've got this tender part of myself I'm working on right now. So I need to make an agreement with you, brother Alex, to like, I just need a little hand on the shoulder once in a while, reassurance, you're doing a great job, because there's a part of me that's asking for that reassurance just for now. And then eventually that part doesn't need it anymore. I'm like, good, I'm good. Thank you for holding that space for me. And so being able to map and see what's going on and then communicate is where that integration is coming in. And so often in this, like you said, there's the science base and there's the spiritual base. Like if I'm all or one of the other, that has its own constraints. We can blend the two of them. I can feel my feeling. I may be able to give it to God. I'm going to open up page 108 all the time. I must have chosen wrongly. I'm not at peace. For God, for me. Let's go. Right? But I'm still, when that thing comes up again, I can still feel these butterflies or constriction. There's something energetically going on in my body that I get to go look at and be with, because I can just, what am I going to give it away 300 times a day? Maybe. But also there's something going on in my physical, biological being that I get to alchemize. And that's where the two really merge together so beautifully, right?
Yes, super powerful. Yeah, you were going to say something.
So yeah, I oftentimes when when we speak about the teachings of A Course of Miracles, and there's, the things that students get challenged by is when we go like really high up in the level of the mind and not the level of form in the world, right? Of the world that we live in, the material world, and the body and the identification with the body. When the two levels get collapsed, this is where oftentimes people have challenges trying to understand what the Course is teaching. So what I'm hearing is now psychosynthesis and the alchemy of self is dealing with the body self and the identification of, where we are in this world here today. And the Course says that our only problem is that we have this disconnection to God and to Source. And because of that, we create our own problems. Our suffering actually comes from our identifications of ourselves, our idea of our identifications. So this is a body of work. This is a framework that I feel like is going to meet really perfectly with A Course in Miracles. And you guys have been studying the Course for a while as well. So, how do you guys see this fitting together? How A Course in Miracles and psychosynthesis match?
So good. This has been coming.
She's excited.
for a while, right?
We're both excited. I'm excited as
Yeah, this is something that's been coming through for a while, right? As we've been in the Course and we've been studying the Course. And, and you said it, ACIM really helps helps others to remember that connection, right? To God, to the Holy Spirit and all of that. And acknowledges that we have an ego, right? But the ego is an illusion. And so psychosynthesis acknowledges that there is a higher self. There is what's called the universal self as well. It acknowledges spirit, the God as well, but it also acknowledges that we have a personal self, right? And acknowledges and honors that. And so I think that where psychosynthesis comes right in is that there is a framework to be able to integrate the personal self, right? The personality, past traumas, wounding from the past, triggers, all of the things that we deal with in everyday life. Psychosynthesis gives you the tools to integrate and heal those parts of selves on your everyday life, right? So that when you connect to the higher self, and also psychosynthesis, helps to continue to nurture that connection, then, you are coming from an integrated personality. And what is an integrated personality? An integrated personality is a personality where all aspects of the personality, and each of us have many different selves, which in psychosynthesis are called sub-personalities that have been generated as a result of survival, as a result, like the many masks that we've had to play and wear since we're young, right? In order to survive, to be accepted, to be loved, right? So all those personalities, they tend to be in inner conflict, right? And so through the framework of psychosynthesis, you can bring those aspects of the self, those sub-personalities, into harmony so that they are not fighting each other. And that's one of the things that we see in the students and with the clients that we work with, is that finally that inner conflict, that inner war ends, right? But that war doesn't end with just the awareness of spiritual ideas, which I think is where sometimes can get a little, difficult. Like people may understand or may intellectually think they understand one of the concepts, the spiritual concept from ACIM, but they don't get integrated because there's all these different parts that are actually in conflict with each other.
Yeah.
And so, right, they're fighting each other and like they are wanting attention. So through the framework of psychosynthesis, we can bring peace, we can bring harmony, and you can on everyday life have the tools to notice that, knowing that, that's not who I am, recognizing that we are bigger than just this personal self, like you're mentioning at the level of the body. And so you learn to really dance with both in a really, really powerful way.
Yeah. And, you were asking about the merging of how does psychosynthesis or the alchemy of self and Course in Miracles play and blend together. For me, and and we'll go through this actually in a little bit here. We have an experiential thing we're going to bring forth for everyone who's on the call and whoever watches the recording. It starts by, like you just said, Alex, like there's parts of ourselves, like to the identification with the body, this the course would say. So there's a powerful practice that is a foundational practice to the psychosynthesis work, and that's called disidentification. So we start by zooming out and saying, you know, I have this part of me, for instance, but I'm not this part of me. And essentially what's ending up happening is like the transpersonal isn't this thing, like you talked about the separation. So bringing in that the Holy Spirit, as we would call it in the context of Course in Miracles, or the transpersonal self, right? As we would say in psychosynthesis, they're both kind of, you know, saying the same thing, like a dove, right? And the dove of peace, and being able to actually view the separated parts of self from the Holy Spirit that is within us, right? It's not like I'm going to give it away all the time to something. Even doing that, I'm giving it to God means that I'm giving it to something separate than me in some listenings. Not that that's actually what the Course is saying, but in some listening, I'm giving it over means it's not mine. I'm now giving it over to you, something outside of me, which is actually not outside of. So I'm going to integrate it within myself and bring the part of myself to this loving observer, the spirit, and be able to look at this part of self and ask it, what does it need? Distinct from, oh, I no longer have triggers around that thing. I don't have jealousy or abandonment anymore. I've integrated it, but really have I? And what part of me thinks it's integrating it? The one that's like, okay, I got some shit to do. The shit to do guy. Hey, I got stuff to do. I don't have time for this anymore. I've integrated it. Check. But meanwhile, underneath in the subconscious, which means it's not in the conscious awareness, there's a frequency that may or may not be at play only all the time. So being able to disidentify and then identify with the true self and observe parts of self is really like the Course in Miracles within the self. And like it's not like something outside of self. Then being able to actually be in relationship with others and observe their process at the same time. Oh, wow, I can now actually see that this person may be working, not to project, but like this person may be working with something, and I don't need to point out or hold up a mirror or anything. I just do the work within myself because there is no separation, you know? Yeah.
Yes. And also it's great because it creates a lot of space, because you start to recognize, right, that whatever may be, whatever part of you is triggered is just a part of you. As Adam said, that's not who you are. And you can also see from another person, it's just a part of that that's reacting. It's not who they are, right? And so when you really start to separate that, that just creates a lot of space, creates a lot of compassion. There's a lot of compassion and love, you know, that it's being held through the psychosynthesis as well. So you just create so much space. Like that's one of the things that I've noticed in watching our students from the beginning to the end, right? It's just noticing how they started to soften up, open, right? And then be able to not be so tangled up, because that's where the source of a lot of our suffering comes from, is that we over-identify. This is part of me, you're holding on for life, right? And so, you know, as Adam just mentioned, one of the fundamental concepts is, no, that's not who you are, just separate, right? Being it from that self, and just give yourself that space, you know, and you really learn to direct your personality from that center, it completely changes the game. And I just wanted to add, like we learned in a psychosynthesis summit that we went over this summer, that psychosynthesis, it's embedded in the culture. You know, many of you have, you know what internal family systems are, right? Internal family system was born out of psychosynthesis, right? That's the psychosynthesis is the original parts work. And so even though people don't necessarily use the term psychosynthesis, right? Sometimes people are just hearing that for the first time, it's in our culture. We've already been, you know, being exposed to it. And so I feel like in the fourth wave, as Anna mentioned, it's time to reclaim the name, right? So really bringing that name forth and honor the work that Asta Jolie did, that's been so profound.
Amazing. So basically, the Course says that the idea or the the identity of who we are is an idea to be undone. And that in order for us to see the spark or see the light in ourselves or Christ consciousness in each other and ourselves, we have to look beyond, I guess, the sub-personalities of each person. So that because what we do is we collapse that with who the essence of somebody is. And this is what the Course says we get to do, is we get to, you know, look beyond that, right? Look beyond the words, look beyond the actions that somebody does, that we don't make them that, right? So that person is untrustworthy because of the actions or the words are not in alignment to it. But what I'm hearing is the sub-personalities, as soon as we can start to identify what they are, then we can identify in others and knowing that's not them. That's a sub-personality that is created of in the ego's realm, which doesn't actually exist, and it's based on, you know, past traumas and experiences and all of that. So we can actually, I can see that it adds, you can definitely add a lot of compassion just by bringing that forth and having that framework. Awesome. Yeah.
That's amazing. And in psychosynthesis, what you just explained, right? The first step is disidentification. And then the second step is self-identification, right? So being able to identify with that self, which is that same part that, you know, it's being illuminated through the ACIM. So it's like, you know, there's a lot of similarities in the framework as well. And then, you know, when it comes to the personal, right? I think that's where psychosynthesis comes in to also, again, support with those integration of the sub-personalities and also for connection with the higher self as well.
Yeah, it's so beautifully said. I've, you know, through my journey of transformational trainings, which many of us on the call have been a part of, landmark, gratitude training, different things, different ceremonial work, shamanic work, and things like that. There's a phrase that I've heard so often just walking down the spiritual street corner, right? That's not mine. That's your stuff. That's not my trigger. That's your work to do, right? But at the end of the day, there's the separation. And soon as when that compassion of like, okay, there's all of these parts of myself that I'm working on, you know, and we as a community can know that we're each doing that work within ourselves, that compassion that you just mentioned and the spaciousness, you know, it flows so beautifully. Some of the elders, Claudia and I, a couple months back, were up in upstate New York, this amazing place called the Garrison Institute, which is like Hogwarts almost. It's like a monastery. And the elders that have been working with psychosynthesis since the 50s and 60s, I shared this with somebody yesterday on a call. They're like, it's so easy. It's so spacious. It's so simple. And what I mean by that is like, there's an understanding in these elders that like, we all have our stuff, our subs, our sub-personalities, our beliefs that come out of the sub-personalities, the superpowers that come out of our sub-personalities. Like if I have a sub-personality of scarcity, I can create things really, like there's a sub-personality usually has a polarity to each one of these things, but the synthesis of bringing this, you know, the sub and the superpower together is like finding ease in the creation, ease in the abundance, you know, because there doesn't have to be this, like, if I'm not abundant, then I am scarce, you know, like there's a polarity to that. So like, what does abundance and scarcity look like when it meets each other? It kind of cancels each other out. It just isness, right? And so when we talk with these elders up in the upstate New York, and still now we're in conversation with them, the ease comes from that they're not trying to teach, they're not trying to mirror, they're not trying to expedite, they're not trying to be like, well, I have this magic thing, you just go do this cleanse for 4 days and then you take this route and then you go on this journey and then it's all fixed. They're just like, everybody has their journey, and they've been on their journey since the 50s and 60s, here now, still doing the work. You know, each time that another part, we just deploy the tools. Just keep deploying the tool again and again and again. Whenever there's not peace, I'm not at peace. Okay, now I know, boom, boom, boom. Let me disidentify, bring it up, ask it what it needs, take the actions. I mean, it's a many levels, you know, build over time that it begins to integrate, and that gap in between being not at peace and being at peace shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks until it's like integrated more and more embodied.
Exactly. Yes, I think that's one of the things that I love about psychosynthesis is that, it's not just understanding intellectually, but we're constantly bringing into the body, right? Breathing things into the body, bringing that awareness so that that integration can happen in the body, right? It can be a felt experience. And even in psychosynthesis, like every time there's a concept that is explained or described, then we go into experience because there is a way to have direct experience, and that's the goal of every single concept that's spoken about. Then it's guided, through a closed-eye process to be able to feel what that feels in the body, right? Because that's what creates the integration. When we can really bring that and experience that in the body, which I think is so perfect, right? Because you're talking about the level of the body, so it's a way to master that, the level of the body.
Yeah, the course talks about like identifying, and what's the purpose of identifying is to let that go. It's like a identify to disidentify, I guess.
Yep,
And to realize that's not you, because oftentimes what happens is, I started the call here today with setting the goal, right? Because once the goal is set, then the experience shifts to be in alignment with that. But what we do is we don't set intentions, we don't set goals often enough. So then the ego takes over. So if we experience something, we don't know what we just experienced, but we're like, oh, that didn't feel good. Then we look backwards, right? We go into the past and start to like align that event with some sort of trauma and things that we've had unconsciously, right? So like the unconscious stuff is in there and we don't know what's actually trying to identify or make sense of the situation because we didn't set the goal or the intention for peace and healing. We start to see judgment and control and being right. And then like all of a sudden I'm a victim to something. I didn't feel good and it's not very powerful. But since we've been doing that our whole lives, because we haven't had a framework from the start, right? It wasn't explained to us. Yep. We were just kind of walking in the dark. And now it seems, or what I'm hearing is that we get to identify the sub-personalities and the things that, perhaps is in our unconscious, right? Because we try to learn things through the conscious mind, and if there's something operating underneath that doesn't agree with it, then it's not fully integrated. So this is what I'm hearing from the Alchemy of Self and what you guys are, teaching, which is awesome.
I love that. And you nailed it. There's a lot of our work. It's happening at the lower unconscious, right? And as you mentioned, we're not conscious of it. Meanwhile, that's what's directing the show. And so, in psychosynthesis, we learn through an elder, right, that we take the time that you need to integrate the unconscious material, right? There's no need to rush. So to avoid what they call premature transcendence, right? Like trying to
premature transcendence.
Premature transcendence.
Yes.
I like it.
Right? It's like sometimes, that's like spiritual bypassing, right? That could happen. And it's okay. In psychosynthesis, we learn not to make anything wrong. Because sometimes that has been a survival, maybe sometimes you need to go into the spiritual because the personal is just so intense. Yeah. And that's okay, right? It's not about making anything wrong. It's about accepting it and witnessing it from the loving observer. But then once you become aware of that, and with the guidance, depending on, the experiences that were created in childhood early on, which is all that material that's in this lower unconscious, then through the psychosynthesis framework, be able to bring those parts, right? Bring awareness to those parts, integrate those parts so that you can move into the higher aspects of the self and not, feel it like an authentic experience. Yeah. Sometimes you can feel like, okay, but deep inside you're not, there's no harmony with it. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I ask people that usually this is in the context of men, do some men's work, and that's not to discredit. But this is just in the context. And I ask men, I say, hey, when you get a text from your partner and you say, hey, and a text says, they'll say like, oh, I'm good. I've done so much work. I've done the work. I'm like, okay, cool. You just got a text from your partner that says, we need to talk when you get home. And they're like, oh, I'm like, oh, but you said you did the work, home skillet. Like, what is that? There's something that's informing that, hey, we need to talk when you get home, or 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 even like going into work, like, hey, when you get here, I need you to go see the boss. Does everybody feel that in their solar plexus or somewhere in their body? Like, there's just a little bit, there's a little Velcro, where there's like the karma can stick to it. And that just goes to show there's some pre-existing condition that says that there's something wrong or I did something wrong. And if that thing that did something wrong concept or and feeling is in the subconscious, and all it takes is we need to talk when you get home to bring up the feeling, that goes to show that there's already these little parts of self are underneath the surface, and they're like, what, did somebody call my name? Hey, what's up, everybody? Also, from that place, you say goal setting, right? If I'm setting a goal from something that is different from the wholeness that I am, and I'm asking for, let's say, a coach or an advisor to hold me accountable to that thing that I want to do, that goal. But I made a goal from I'm not enough, or I need more money so I can feel safe or whatever, right? So like I don't feel safe is the come from. Need more money is the goal. And so somewhere along the way, there's a part of self that isn't the wholeness that is saying, I want this goal. And then our coach is like, come on, who by when? You got to get this stuff done. Where else does this show up for you? And then a couple of weeks, months, year down the road of all these action steps, it's like, hey, why aren't you, where's the fire that you said you wanted to do this thing? You wanted to create this thing. Well, it was coming from a part of self, not a whole part, wholeness. And then we're asking for that person to keep promising into something that is fragmented, that is from a belief system that was formulated in childhood, and wondering why it doesn't matter anymore because it's just one little part of self. And when that little part of self isn't showing up, it's not triggered awake, I'm good. I'm at peace right now. I don't need to keep hustling to keep pushing through to get that deal because the deal is not as important today. Tomorrow, when I look at my bank account, now the deal is important again. Let's go. Where's my coach? I need some coaching on how to, and it just becomes this like very confusing space to navigate. So when we set these goals, and this is why in in the alchemy of self, we build slowly upon the awareness of what's going on here. This is what this looks like. And then later in the journey, we start talking about the will and the ideal model and things like that. Because if we start going too quickly, we're going to either make goals from our premature transcendent self. Like it's all in God's hands anyway, at the end of the day. Do you suffer? That's funny. This is something that I actually, through an experience of my own, I went and I created a 90-day letter of accomplishment that I wanted to create in my life. And I've got coaches coaching me, and I'm like, wait a minute, who created that? What part of me, what belief said that I need to do this? Do I actually need to do any of it? Am I already not at peace right here, right now? And then what wants to move through me? How does spirit want to express itself through me, distinct from what's a goal that I, lowercase I, is trying to set? Not to say that setting intentions and goals aren't powerful, but also we're coming from a place like, in this place, we're coming from a place of setting goal from a heart-centered, collaborative, beautiful space.
From wholeness.
From wholeness, right? But there are many times when we got to go put some muscle behind the hustle, and then burnout happens. Disengagement happens. Why can't I enroll clients into this thing? Because I'm projecting scarcity out into the world and trying to pull in abundance. And those two things are like, nope, what, who, where, how do we, two different frequencies trying to match up. So as we become aware and I disidentify with parts, re-identify with wholeness, also giving it away. I'm just going to go to a fire ceremony and give this away to the fire. That'd be like saying we got a bunch of children. All our sub-personalities are all our children we're asexual. We didn't have children with another person. We've created these sub-personalities along our journey. But I don't want you here anymore. No, I don't want you here anymore. Go into the fire. Go jump in the fire. You're gone. But subconsciously, that part is never gone. So it's about like being able to alchemize distinct from giving it away, because if we suppress or repress or push away, most of the time those things will come out sideways. It's going to come out as a self-sabotage. It's going to come out as people pleasing. It's going to come out as it doesn't matter anyway. I'm just going to go be in a cave and shave my head and do this thing all by myself. So I'm not triggered anymore, like whatever that may be. So in the alchemy of self, we're really looking at integrating the parts of self, re-emerging and re-loving and re-parenting
Yes.
ourselves in many ways so that we're not just casting it away, casting it away, casting it away. And I love more than like anybody, like casting things away. Like I don't want this part of myself anymore. So in the moment, it may feel a certain way, but we're actually alchemizing and giving it to Holy Spirit rather than casting it aside and tossing it into the ocean, you know?
Yeah. I think the challenging thing that a lot of people face in the world is this collapse of everything, collapse of all the teachings, collapse of spirituality, collapse of science. Everything's all collapsed together. It's almost like a chessboard that has everything just laying down like a mess. You know, it's like, where's the white pieces? Where's the brown pieces? You know, like it's very confusing when everything is collapsed. And any body of work, you know, the Course says, like, as long as it is helping you uncollapse things, right? So in the beginning, in order to uncollapse things, you got to see it for what it is. You got to feel the feels, right? But really understanding, like, what is it really all for? You know, so I want to go back to this, like, disidentification with these things. Like, okay, that is one sub-personality, but that doesn't make up the whole of me. Right. And oftentimes people get really stuck on that. So how do you work with people that are just really stuck on one sub personality being like, that's me? You know, I'm always this. Oh, I'm always that. And you just like create this limiting belief about yourself. No longer this whole version, but it's you're just identified with one fragmented version of you. Right. Which is once all encompassed, of course. You know, the forgiveness and the undoing of those things naturally happen, but you know, when we uncollapse things, how do you work with somebody and in your body of work, because you can't just say, oh, let's just let that go, or that's just not you, because they're not ready. Because if you say that to somebody, that's pretty much that premature transcendence that you're trying to place on somebody,
Exactly.
right? I'm going to use that word as many times as I can before this call is over, so that it gets
great.
integrated
It's
into
not
me.
just me.
But yeah, how do you work with somebody? I mean, we all walk around with one sub personality or whatever that dominates at any given moment, you know, not recognizing it. And from there, the Course says we automatically project that onto others. So if we feel scarce in the moment, we're going to project it into the space, then we're going to project it into someone else. So how do you, what do you guys do, and what's something that you guys can maybe share with us on how we work with that?
Great
I'm
question.
gonna lean back while Claudia takes it.
Question. So through the framework of psychosynthesis, right, basically we guide people to reconnect with their I, right? It's in the center. The I is that limitless, calm part of us that it's always been there, right? We're connecting to this eternal part of us. And so, you know, it takes time, but through different meditations, you connect with that part of you. That's the loving witness, right? The loving observer. So the first step is for them, right, to disidentify, because they're basically what happens a lot of the times is through different experiences of life, depending on what you've gone through childhood, that I gets collapsed. It's called an adaptive personality. So all of a sudden, instead of that I, where which each of us has, we've made the I, like our adaptive personality has become that center, right? And that adaptive personality is just exactly that. A part of you, a part of us that just had to adapt. And depending on, you know, how that part of you, like how intense the experience must have been, right? It just, you completely identify with that and you lose track. There's no disidentification. So normally when you're speaking of is someone who has made their I that part of you, you know, it's like a maladaptive personality. And so, you know, again, being very patient, everyone is on their own journey. This process is not linear. It's more of like a spiral. And so, you know, working with a person to help them to reconnect with that I, right, through different meditations so that they can have an experience of that I within themselves. And the idea is to train people to see themselves through the eyes of the I, right, through the eyes of the self, so that they can see, wow, that is not who I am. that is a part of me. But but that's the first step, is identify and then reconnect with that.
Yeah.
And then whatever that part is, most of the time, there's sub-personalities that are so loud. A lot of the times when there are just, again, screaming, or they get trigger awake, those are parts of you that are seeking your attention, right? They're seeking your presence. And so through the framework, as we're getting into the sub-personality piece, you start to identify sub-personalities, and most of us have many sub-personalities, right? And so, you start to identify, and just the fact that you can identify, like that you can disidentify and then identify what it is, that in itself starts creating the space for the person to understand that that's not who they are.
Yeah.
And so it's a constant exercise. It's a constant choosing of viewing themselves through who they really are. And this is something that I love, that I feel Psychosynthesis and ACAM share, is that it's not about learning anything new, right? It's remembering who we are, because each of us have the I, each of us have that center, that loving, wise, patient center within. And so, we help them to reconnect with that. And the more you do that, you reconnect over and over again, that connection becomes stronger. And so, and then that gives them the tools to be able to know that that's a part of you, but that's not who you are. You have that part of you, but that's not who you are. You are this self, this vast. And so through the close eye guided processes, people can have an experience of what this self is, because you can talk about it and the I, and what is the I, right?
Yeah.
It's, again, concept, but through those guided close eye process and meditations, people can have an experience of that, and then they remember, right? They remember that part is within them. And sometimes it's buried very deep. And sometimes it takes, like we've spoken to some of the elders in this work, sometimes you have to spend a lot of time in your lower unconscious, depending on your early experiences on in life. For others, it may be faster, right? For others, that not so tangled up, so that they can have an experience of that I in a more easy way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, you
we
go.
never, like when we're working with this work, it's really gentle. Does that mean that
Pretty
Well,
much.
Pretty much, but at the same time, we have a sense of anchoring of there's a knowingness within the self that there is something that just has these different parts of self. As we start to name and, recognize and then give a distinction to these different parts of self. Ken, that's funny, but it's also, this is something that if we look in the mirror at any one time, we could look in the mirror with so many parts of self that have been integrated along our journey, that could be we like to say false models or what have you. But let's say that we're all are looking in the mirror right now, and we believe in so many different ways that we are this or that or the other thing, so much so that we don't even really know who we are anymore at any particular point. There's some of the elders in the space, we keep saying elders because it matters and we're honoring this work, would say that when somebody, like, let's say we're holding a coaching session or a guiding session and somebody shows up to our front door, they knock and they say, hey, what's up? That person, all of us, has so many parts of themselves that have been developed along maladaptive or adaptive personality types that we may not actually know the true essence of our being. We think we are this, that, the other. And therefore, like you said, the projection isn't only projected into the space. Everybody else must be this also. Because this is my reality. This is the film strip that I'm playing through my eyes. And therefore, everybody has this, everybody has that. Everybody's struggling with this. Everybody is not struggling with that. This is the reality being projected, the illusion, right? The essence of the illusion. At any one time, there's an availability to be able to, it's not necessarily the schizophrenic aspect of point self, but it's about actually able to notice that there's these different parts of ourselves that are being deployed at any time. But if they're being deployed in a place of unconscious, it's just a behavior, it's an automatic, It's just automatic response. It's an automatic behavior, and sometimes those behaviors may be self-sabotaging in many ways, right? They're just distinct from, okay, I'm not going to say that this subpersonality is bad or wrong because there are amazing attributes. It's been along with me to keep me safe from when this thing happened, from when I didn't feel safe. It's my guardian circling around my heart. I have all these noble soldiers that are standing around my heart with their shield and their sword. And they're like, okay, everything's good here. Okay, everything's not good. Let me come out because I need to be powerful right now. And I need to defend or justify because somebody is making me wrong. And when I'm wrong, that means something's going to happen, which usually happens early on in our lives. So distinct from being schizophrenic, which is the word it gets, but it's actually bringing into conscious awareness that if I now know that I have these noble soldiers, it's pretty cool. Let's all play a board game together. Look at all these cool noble soldiers. But I can consciously, from a place of capital I, deploy the soldier when I need to or is called to, distinct from it automatically going to war when there's no war. So like there are these parts of self. There's the compassionate one. There's the protective Adam. There's the loving Adam. There's the let's get shit done Adam. Anybody who knows me knows I like to like let's go. But when I can bring the let's get shit done and the compassionate one into the same space, that is a pretty inspiring two soldiers to deploy of like, okay, guys, let's do this together. And what do you need in order to be a part of this thing? So I'm bringing compassion and let's get shit done at the same time. And I'm consciously deploying versus subconsciously deploying. We're already having all these other sub-personality aspects that are showing up only all the time. But now I'm conscious of them and I can deploy them as an ambassador of myself, bringing the Holy Spirit and the higher self in and deploying it in that way. And that's what we were sharing, like about inspiration of Alex. I see how you're playing music from a place of joy and love, distinct from playing music from a place of heartache and sorrow. The music is still the music, but it's being deployed from some other part of it. Am I sad or am I inspirational? You know, which one? But now I can be like, okay, I feel like the call to move emotion. I'm going to consciously play this song to evoke emotion.
Yeah. And you know, something's been coming through as he was sharing is also you learn to like fall in love with you and all of your parts
Hell
of
yeah.
this work, because you start to see that even those parts of you, right, the protective self, the inner critic, and all those, right, they were created to protect you. They have a purpose. That part of you has a purpose.
They're not wrong.
And so, you know, it's you learn to, like Adam mentioned, bring it to the awareness, understand that part of you, right? You keep the aspects that are working of that self-personality, and then the aspects that are normally the aggressive or the ones that want to fight, again,
distortion.
all it is, it's a call for love, which is the same thing that ACIM teaches. So then what is that, right? So you bring that, what do you need? You know, you take the time that you need to integrate that part. And then all of a sudden that is no longer fighting.
Yeah.
Right? It's on your side. Right? And then you just, you just fall in love with yourself.
And one other thing is, I know you have another, this came up as you were sharing before, limiting beliefs. How many of us, and I can't see everybody's hand, but we'll just like play a game here. How many of us think limiting beliefs are, I'm not good enough, I don't have what it takes, there's not enough time, all those kind of things, right? Are those limiting beliefs, everybody? Yeah? What if limiting beliefs are, I am this, I am that, I am this part of myself that thinks I know who I am. Therefore, those subpersonalities that think that that's who I am are the limitations. Because they're coming from needing to be safe, right? They're not coming from a place of wholeness, of the expansion of who we are. It's a limited belief system. So the belief system of I am a father, I am an attorney, I am a doctor, I am powerful, I am beautiful, I am a spiritual guide. Those are limiting because they're only one small aspect of this wholeness that we are. Distinct from the limiting beliefs that get collapsed over years and years and years of transformational work of like, oh, I don't know I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. I'm not smart enough. All those are also limiting beliefs, but those limiting beliefs are actually a byproduct of a subpersonality that has created those beliefs. So we're getting to the essence of the part of self that actually created the beliefs, which is a belief in and of itself, an identification. And when beliefs go into identification, that's where it gets really, really juicy,
Yeah.
right? Like beliefs are where? Right here. Identification is here. So like we're tickling away going into this embodiment and bringing up and embodying the wonderful aspects of all these subs that have served us so well for so long and we love them so much, but also letting them know there's no longer a war. We don't have to fight right now. We don't have to justify and defend and be able to like be in a conversation where we're in the fire and just be like, okay, I'm connected with my higher self. This person is feeling feelings. I am not the defensiveness. I am not the justification. I don't need to pick up my sword. And people will often say, just put the sword down. Okay. How the fuck do we do that? Excuse my language. How do we do that? When I need this sword to survive, and it's so embodied, it's no longer a belief. It's an automatic embodied response to be safe.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and I see how this two work comes together really well, A Course in Miracles and Psychosynthesis and all the sub-personalities, is because sometimes in the spiritual world, in the spiritual communities, words they lose their meaning a little bit when they become jargon, right? So this whole like love, Holy Spirit, and ego, all of a sudden ego is like this, just like it's so vast and so like big that it's hard to grasp, even though, on one level it's like, wow, that makes it easier. All this stuff is ego, great. But, if it's not integrated, which is what I love about, the alchemy of self and psychosynthesis, which is go deeper into that ego realm, identify all the different versions, right? But not to become it. And I think one of the challenges, which I'm curious what you guys would say about this, is what if we start to identify a sub-personality with another sub-personality? It's like, wait, so like the framework. So I mean, obviously, I think I know the answer, but I would love to just hear what you guys like, if you're identifying them, because you can go down a big rabbit hole, right? Of like identifying with this, then it's that, then we make it wrong. And so we're now like identifying in the realm of ego. According to the Course, the Course teaches that the ego is very confusing. Like if you're going to play with the ego's model is seek, but do not find. So It's almost like you can run around in circles down there forever. And I think the Course provides, a perspective when people are ready to be able to see clear as well. But how do people, like, what happens when people start spiraling, looking at subpersonalities through another subpersonality, through another one?
Yeah. Spiraling. Good word.
Yeah, great question. Right? And again, as I mentioned when you asked the first question, is how do we work with someone? It's about connecting to the I. Right? If you are just seeing through the eye of the subpersonality, you're going to get lost. But if you're seeing yourself through the eye, through this eternal part of you, and then you're seeing your subs from that, there is this, you can distinguish it. You can distinguish what this is from another thing, right? Because you're just not seeing it right from the ego itself. And that's why, I feel like the framework works so well, because that unified center that each of us has, that's eternal, that each of us can have an experience of, really allows you to feel the spaciousness, create this space so that we don't become the subs. Like at the beginning, the person may be the subs, right? Become one with the subs. But then through that disidentification, you are able to see the parts, right? You're able to see what's what, right? You're able to distinguish, what those sub-personalities are. So
yeah, beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Which again, it's the same thing with ACIM, right? It's seeing it through the eyes of the Holy Spirit and connecting. So I love that there is that same connection and
awareness. It feels like the same work, It feels like the same work. And it's, what I see the potential of it really is like, we're going to be able to meet people more where they're at. I feel like A Course in Miracles might be a little too lofty sometimes for people to grasp, and it's too like thick and dense. But this work breaks that ego part of it down and then guides us back. So, when I started this call, I was saying, our only problem is our disconnection from source, from the I, right? From that I. That's our only problem, is that we are disconnected to that. And all the things that are in the way of that disconnection is all the different subpersonalities that we haven't identified.
Exactly.
And they're just stuck there, and they're in the unconscious, and then they just show up, and we don't even know what's in the way, right? So it's like, okay, let's identify what's in the way, and then
see things for what they are.
Yeah,
right?
see things for what they are, which the Course says is forgiveness, right? So like we identified this subpersonality, and then if we see it through another subpersonality, we make it bad and wrong and this and that. But the forgiveness, like you said, to love all these subpersonalities is to be able to see through the I, or through God, or through the Holy Spirit, to be able to see them that they did not do what you thought they did, and they are not what you think they are either, right? So all of a sudden that energy is now removed. Yeah, love it. Cool.
Exactly.
We're never upset for the reason we think we are, right? Like those phrases that get shared in the Course, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you start to see that they're just trying to protect you.
Yep.
Even the
Noble
superstars
soldiers.
may not like at all. They're just trying to protect us, and you see that, and you appreciate that, and you honor that, and you have an opportunity to actually say that and express that to the part.
Awesome. Let's hear. I think we've been going on for a decent amount of time. Let's ask some questions, and I would love to know how people get more involved in this, and then watch subpersonalities come up. No, just kidding. Let's get some thoughts, questions, shares. Anybody would love to. I see there's some hands that have been up.
One thing before we move on to that, I find that this is really important for this segment of so when working within these frameworks, because it's deep work, it's really about, like you said, going in and then coming back out. Like we don't necessarily want to start doing subpersonality work from a space of other subpersonalities, because there's multiple happening all the time. And some of them like to hang out in certain parts of the playground with other ones, and the other ones are the bullies, and they hang out on the other side of the playground. Yeah. And they all kind of like, hey, I got my posse of subs over here. But now I'm feeling all romantic and yummy, so I got this posse of subs over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the collapsed chessboard. Everything is collapsed, and we don't really know how to operate. We don't know what we're looking through at some point.
Yeah, so, and being able to go in and then also to come back out into our bodies. So we gently work in and out. There's a lot, like you said, in the spiritually inclined community, a lot of lingo, we're all one and all the things, but not that fucking guy over there.
We're all one except that person.
Except that dude that did that thing that one time. Yeah. And I'm still holding on. But it really is, about going in and working into the session and then back out again, because we don't want to leave someone walking around on the street with in a deep process of a certain sub, and all of a sudden, okay, this is me now. I think I know who I am now. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry to cut off. I see some hands up already.
Yeah. So I just feel like in this room right now, there's a calling for questions. So, Mikhail's got a question. Go ahead, brother. That unmute button is sometimes hard to find on the phone. Phones aren't cooperating.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
I just the irony, the reflection within your guys' consciousness, within our consciousness, our collective consciousness is uncanny, is out of this world, is insanely cool. The level of connection points in which you all share is I want to keep this as simple as possible without taking up too much space, but also plant a seed of consciousness in the space, right? I want to be conscious of how I share, not overwhelm it, but plant a big one. So let me try to do this in a very short manner. 11/11/11 took place November 11th, 2011. I had a spiritual awakening here on the Oregon coast from a completely shattered, traumatic childhood, right? And then I went on this series and sequence of events to Los Angeles, to Hawaii, all over the Western world. And I had a literal, not something was dreamt up or made up overnight, right? astrological reading in my hotel room at the Hilton at the Life Conscious Expo, where people like Greg Braden and David Wilcox, all these extraterrestrial superhuman folks from all over the world were there at this expo, and I had a an Archangel Michael awakening through a sequence and series of events that were unmistakable. I then ended up in a monastery in Kauai with a 700-pound Akashic record keeping crystal, that holds 1111 Akashic records from Arkansas, nine which are connected to nine other Atlantean extraterrestrial crystals all over this planet: Bolivia, Sargasso Sea, Mount Shasta, Colombia. The list goes on and on. I sat with that crystal and unlocked all these Akashic light memories on Kauai, where there's a bunch of open crowned spiritual people. And I would sign every pair as Lord Christ Michael and then my Robert Vincent Galat, my birth name. 3 children later, two children in out of three, I'm legally changing my name to match the mother of my first 2 children to Michael Vincent Avalon. Kept my middle name for my father, transcended this personality to Michael, and took the name Avalon from the mother of my first 2 children, which her program was Avalon Alchemy. Somehow I'm in this deep spiritual transcendence integration process, and all I'm trying to do or attempting to do is make natural medicine formulas that reflect this experience beyond what I can put into a word, because the words seem to anytime I've ever tried to share this experience, it just distorts it, and most people can't relate, and they just think I'm a fucking nut. And they just have no way to relate to me, and they're like, this guy's fucking crazy. So I've been working years of my life to create formulas like Seventh Heaven, Blue Angel, Blue Lion, Blue Star, everything that reflects a blue ray of consciousness in a grounded, practical, supernatural food form, so that people can get their own experience in their own bodies and relate to their higher selves in their own ways without me having to say anything. And this has been one extensive Avalon Alchemy / Avalon Alchemista. And just to close it up, the first words at the Breakthrough Conference were when Gerald was there, and I came in late on Friday. I scooted in there from coming on this crazy rainbow journey from Oregon. He said, say something about yourself and I said, I am an earth angel human being. I'm an earth angel human being. I'm an earth. And that was like the affirmation making it to Salt Lake after all these experiences. Anyway, it's been a long transcendental personal integration process and journey. I just think it's so phenomenal. All the things that factor in the medicine I make, the medicine you guys work with, the seeds that were planted with Breakthrough and Legends, all of it is just fascinating. And I'm just excited for the mystery of not understanding and just being in this moment. And just really curious for any feedback. Because all I'm trying to do is just integrate all the information to the best of my ability and encompass all the broken and fractured pieces of my humanness at the same time.
So what was your question? Yeah. Your question is what?
How do you perceive this? How do you see? Because when I walk into a room, I'll trigger people just being in a room without even having to say a word. A lot of the time, like how do I just be quiet, never say a word, ever, or just be like what? I mean, like seriously, like I find it hard to be myself because it triggers so many psychological aspects of so many people so easily. It seems like how do you integrate this holy spiritual information as a human being on this earth when it's bigger than words and it's bigger than what you can understand in a human form? Like for real.
I mean, the science of the heart really is what I'm hearing your question. Like, how do I? And really what comes into is like what I mentioned earlier, like simplicity. Like if we can actually tune into the energy of the word simplicity, There's so much information that was just shared that is so vast and so I could take one sentence of what you just shared and create an entire brand and an offering out into the world that captures the essence of crystalline energy and earth chakras and transcendence and all the things.
Hmm.
But how do I do that in such a way that isn't overwhelming to somebody's nervous system, to somebody's brain, to somebody's understanding? How do I distill this down into an offering of presence so that I can be that crystalline being and doesn't have to be given to everybody else because I experienced it? This is my experience.
Right?
And then this is where like working within the alchemy of self is, and the framework is simplicity and being, and you say, how do I? It's really about tuning into our inner cosmology and which is the true essence of who we are that I mean, I've gone and hung out with God in the middle of the void a few times, but then I come back and I'm like, I know the truth. And then a friend looks at me and goes, the truth or a truth?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go again. So
Yep.
it's like, what part really being able to identify and go through practices and slow things down and be able to, deliver them when they want to be delivered. And even see, like, I walk into a room and I trigger people.
That's been a past
Is
experience.
that true?
In the past, it's been an experience for sure.
Yeah, but whose experience?
Mine and what I saw on the movie screen.
Yeah, so exactly. So like my movie screen is projecting all of my past life experiences and everything that I know to be true right now.
Hmm.
Lower T true. I'm projecting, and so I walk into a room and I feel somebody's energy just because I'm, have that sort of say, ooh, somebody just, I felt something close up or whatever,
Mm.
but it's actually my projection,
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
I
Well, I
love to
think,
take that
yeah.
on.
Okay, go
I love
ahead,
to take
Claudia.
that on because I actually went through that experience as well. I had a sudden
Really?
spiritual awakening back in 2012, October, right before the
Right?
October 21st, 2012. And
Hmm.
I felt that too. I was like, I felt spirit. It's just like I went to a meditative experience and I just downloaded everything. And
Yeah.
part of me at the time, I was in a marriage at the time that wasn't really serving me. And part of me wanted to just like, oh my God, I'm enlightened, right? I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, let me just go in the top of the roofs and yell it out. But the other part of me looked at my human self,
Yeah.
and I knew if like my life wasn't in alignment with that divinity that had come through. So I knew that I could go about it two ways.
Hmm.
I could just speak about it, and people were going to see my reality of life. I wasn't going to be a felt experience because my human life wasn't matched in that. So what did I do? I took it on and I did my spiritual journey and I went on this decade journey to find myself and to realign my life
Mm.
to those spiritual truths that I received. And I didn't say a peep. So, if you
Not a
know,
peep.
Not a
not a
peep.
peep, not a peep. If you know that the real teachings, right? It's all an inner game, right? So
Mm.
it's all an inner game, inner reality. So I make sure to do my inner work, and eventually the outer reality is going to match the inner reality. And so I'm at a point right now where people are reflecting back to me
Hmm.
those characteristics and things that I felt when I started. So now I don't even like now it's like now I can say it and people are like, of course, hello.
Mm.
Right? Because now it's been a lived experience and it has been integrated. And I believe my belief is, enlightenment is super powerful, but we're here in this human form. So it's really like, how can we master humanity, like our humanity? That's where we connect with other humans. So if we go into the premature transcendent or we meet people from this higher place, it's going to
Mm.
create triggers
Mhm.
because people are in this 3D
That's
life.
that's exactly what happened. It was such a heightened next level experience. That's exactly what happened. I went straight to higher
Mhm.
self, and then
Yep.
if I tried to express it, the most often thing I'd receive, oh, who do you think you're holier than now, and all these other. Anyway, the
Exactly.
list the list is long, right? Go on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, I need to be quiet and just make natural formulas that reflect my
Exactly.
eternal experience. So I created Pandora, Blue Avatar, after my mom, which is me finding the blue avatar in Pandora's box. Like I created these medicine formulas to describe the experience so people could have their own experience without me having to put anything to words. And I don't even post on social media or anything now. I'm like,
Yep.
I don't even do it. Like I just have this faith that it's gonna find its way into the world, however it's meant to find its
Exactly.
way.
And maybe it is meant to be shared from you, right? But keep working on your cell, on your like your human, right? Your alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that your human life aligns with your divine self, right? So that people can see and they can have an actual experience. And you know, it's hard, and I felt it, and I went through it too. It's like you want to share it and all of it, but there's, you know what I mean? It can create disconnection because people don't know what that is. They don't have an
Yeah,
experience of
exactly.
it. So it can seem this like, so you're doing great, hang in there,
Yeah.
keep doing,
So
doing your inner work.
amazing, Claudia. That was an awesome share. Thank you for that. You know, what
Yeah.
brings to mind for me also is like,
Thank
you know, I
you.
see it in a lot of different communities. I see it in the real estate community when someone goes to a conference the first time and they don't go with their partner, or they just go by themselves, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I got to do this thing. I'm going to buy this $30,000 mastermind, come home, get all crazy and jazzed up. And, you know, it actually creates more separation because people, like it's like Adam said, the nervous system gets so shot. It's almost like you come to this new awareness and you don't even really have it yet. And you take like algebra or something and you throw it on a 2-year-old's table, and it's like, here, get this right now. You know, like I just got this, I received this information, and we're like sticking it in people's faces.
Whoa.
And you know, it's so interesting because, you know, oftentimes the jargon comes out all into one sentence. It's like God, Holy Spirit, Jesus, and all the things. She's like all right there in somebody's face. Like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
You know, so you give people time and give yourself time to really integrate it through different frameworks, like, you know, the alchemy of self, and all this work is an internal work. So I love that. Yeah. I said that for you, Michelle, because this, you know, people that are in the real estate community, and, you know, when you go into something new, it's like, oh my God, it's so inspiring. I just had this life-changing moment. Got new clarity. Now everybody must get it right now.
Yeah.
So
And even being able to take a spirit molecule and give it to someone so that it takes them here. Like the spirit molecule came in through that awareness. If I put this blue Lemurian crystal in my, you know, myself, and all of a sudden I have that's my experience. If I then I want to create my experience and serve it to someone else so that they have my experience, like, you know what I mean? Like,
if they
wait a
ask
minute.
for sure, you know, like if through
Yeah.
through the way you live your life, they're like, what is that? And you're like, oh,
Yes.
here, take this. And then you share the story of it instead of like shoving it in somebody's face.
Exactly.
I think that's the gentle, the fine line that, you know, all teachers and all leaders get to, and influencers get to define. Like, what is that fine line? So hold on, there's definitely more questions here. So I want to be mindful of time. I want to get a couple more questions in, and then also like, what is this program? You know, I'm in, because I know, like, I'm in
we
for it.
also-
I'm
we would-
excited
we would-
for it.
We want to leave a
We
little
posted-
space.
we posted the links for.
yeah,
We have like a class that goes into more of what the alchemy of self
Yeah.
it's about, and also we have our landing page for it if you're interested. you
Okay,
know,
yeah,
to
put
be-
it in the
I
chat for
put it in
sure.
there. Yeah.
Yep, it's in there.
Okay.
And then we also want to leave, you know, a few minutes just to do a little mini session here for everybody later on.
guided
Yeah, so
experience.
after the
How long is that going to take?
If we have time,
If we have time,
6-7 minutes.
4 minutes. Like,
Well, Vicky had her hand up, so
Vicky.
Vicky, you know, Vicky's a
Vicky,
great
Where you at, Vicky?
new addition to our space here. She's from Knoxville, introduced from Tyler. Where is Vicky? Let me see if Vicky's here. There she is.
I'm here. Hi, Adam and Claudia. Thank you so much, and Alex, for all the wisdom that you shared with us today. So I had a question around what to do, especially in partnership when I'm feeling triggered because of my subpersonalities, and it's also their subpersonalities. So, for example, I have a wound around being misunderstood or unseen, or feeling like the other person's emotionally unavailable or critical in the way they communicate with me,
Hmm.
or just like bring around someone else who's shut down or makes me feel like they're needing to correct me, or also just like prioritizing their protection over intimacy. And I'm aware of that trigger within myself. And I'm able to like see it, feel it, move through it, and come back to my center. But I feel like it's creating more and more disconnect because it seems like the other person's not aware of what they're doing and the way they speak with me. So that's kind of like the question I had is, what do you do when you're trying to maintain connection and relationship? You're aware of your own, subconscious triggers that have impacted you and can create more like disconnect. And then you have someone else who's also having the same thing. And I know that, from a place of love myself, that this is just a human and only one part of them. Like I love the human, but this one part, it seems to like be impacting me.
Yes, that's beautiful. So it helps to have the language. Like we love sharing this work with couples because when you both have the language to be able to say, hey, this is a sub personality, this is what's going on, right? It helps not to make it about the person because sometimes people can take it, right? They can take it personal or that what they're receiving is an attack, right? So it's good to have a framework. It's really helped in relationship. It's helped with us. Topics that would bring up a lot of trigger because we're seeing it through the psychosynthesis framework. It helps, right? It's like, I'm not attacking you. This is just how things are. So that's one thing that shows up. As you're saying, you're noticing that part of yourself and all of it. Sounds like there's further integration of that part of you to be done, which again can happen through this framework, so that, right? Because at one point, once you've really been with that part and given what that part needed, it won't be as much of a trigger anymore. So you'll have more space, you'll have more compassion, even more so that you may be having now, right? To be able to like, okay, just notice when these parts come online, right? And as you do the work, these parts come online less and less. So the emotional charge that may be there may not be as strong. And that emotional charge is typically what people resist, right? It's usually what people can feel. So you may be saying certain words, but if you're still feeling in a certain way, right, that can trigger the other person. And a lot of times in relationship, it's interesting to see that, you may have a sub personality and then that like just perfectly, kind of triggers away the other personality. So it's just like tug of war, right? Like you may have a wound on this, on like being understood. And then the other person, may have a wound, around even being called out or anything like that, right? So it's really interesting to see how the relationships are a perfect playground for that.
Yeah.
And
do you mind if I have a
yeah.
follow-up question to that?
Before we go into that too deeply, I want to share this also. Like, if we, as a spiritually inclined group of homies, what's up, homies? We're manifesting. What's up? We're manifesting right now, and I'm manifesting from this part of myself that enjoys, or I learned how to receive love from these feelings that you just shared, Victoria. I learned how to somehow, some way we can, I'm not saying this to be true, right? We can collapse love, that where we manifest partners that trigger the certain parts of ourselves. Because if I learned, you get loved, Adam, by how you do things. So then I manifest someone who loves the things that I just do. But then when I want to chill, I'm not so loved. You know what I mean? Like I'm manifesting only all the time from some kind of a subconscious belief, right? I'm manifesting unavailable. I'm manifesting emotionally unavailable because I learned that my primary caregivers that showed me love showed that through emotional unavailability. That may or may not land, but that's typically an experience there. But also, to keep it really simple, tune in with us and start doing the work. You know what I mean? Like that's really what it comes down to, because this is just one small aspect of the wholeness that you are, that we are, right? One small aspect. And we may keep manifesting this thing to feel certain feelings. And our nervous system, if I go to approach Claudia and Claudia is emotionally unavailable and I have a need that's, how's my nervous system going to feel? I'm going to feel a little bit of tension. But if I just breathe into the question that you asked, And I can approach my relationship from a place of stillness and spaciousness. And even though my brain and my body may feel that I'm not being met with availability emotionally, my nervous system, which I'm just learning is my new normal, is to be like, and I can actually relax and see it for what it is, see the forest through the trees. This is where these practices are so key because the nervous system is going to come online as soon as something is perceived as not safe. I'm not getting what I'm not getting loved. I'm not gonna, and then that becomes the new normal. We can all lay down on a table right now or on a floor, and I'm going to ask everybody, "Are you relaxed?" And then they're going to relax more. I'm going to ask the same question again. When we breathe, take a breath in, let's exhale again. Now we're relaxed. We're going to get heavier and heavier and heavier into the floor and realize nervous system online, relaxation, there's a hell of a gap there. And if I'm approaching everything that I'm doing from a dysregulated nervous system, I'm generating and projecting this energetic frequency that shows me that something's off, something's wrong. And I'm going to keep on manifesting that only all the time. So we're learning to find the simplicity and just like find that love within ourselves. And then externally that starts to happen. It's an inside job.
Yes, it's an inside job, and to find wholeness, right? So that you may be seeking, to be understood by somebody else, but really, what that part of you is as calling for is for to be understood by you, right? That part is it's all right. So when you do that, right, when you actually give to yourself what you need, right, you become whole. That's what you may have heard, like instead of two halves coming together, it's two whole coming together. That really supports and makes it easier to not be triggered and being in a relationship.
Right.
So she has a follow-up question. Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, to follow up on that, the work I have been doing is deep, but very specifically, I know that I'm a people pleaser, and that comes from for sure my childhood and the relationship I've had with my parents, and specifically my mom. And one of the things that I've done to help heal myself is I've put up boundaries around what feels safe to my nervous system. So, for example, not allowing or at least expressing a boundary, like to my mother, for example, that when you talk about other people or when you criticize my spiritual beliefs, like this feels unsafe for me. So can we please not talk like that? Like, could we not talk about that? And that is one of the ways I've put into place like a tool to help myself to come back online and for my nervous system to be rebalanced. And what I've been noticing, like in relationship with that same thing, is it almost feels like I'm breaking that boundary again. So that's what I was wondering from your perspective is there another step? Like, I understand needing to reparent myself and make myself feel safe in those spaces where I might have been feeling unseen because of a past trauma. But what if I'm using my tools and I'm then at a place where I realize it's out of my control now because it's the other person, and I feel like I'm breaking my own protection mechanisms? And is that what you're talking about, the disconnect?
Yeah. Through the work, right? Like, we're not just going to snap our fingers. Our course is 13 months long, right? And there's a reason that it is, because we're going to, we unfold modules. So where we work through different parts of the psychosynthesis work, right? The alchemy of self work. But along that journey, like even in relationship, agreements are really powerful. And this isn't advice giving. We don't advice give, but I'm just sharing from my own experience. Like what I've had experiences where I can share that I would say to somebody, this is something I found very powerful. I really want to connect, Mom, but there's something that's getting in the way, and I don't feel like it's having us connect, because when this happens, it creates I feel like I'm closing down, or like I need to kind of go over here and have my boundary. But I'd love to make an agreement with you so that we can actually get closer. And when I found is when I say that to somebody, even in like the business world, people are like, whoa, you want to be closer? That's like the listening. Not like, don't do that because it doesn't make me feel safe. That's like, like that, right? Inviting into connection. And then in that, the agreement can be established, the boundary, AKA agreement of, when we communicate, I would love to communicate from this place. When we're talking about other people, like that doesn't really, those things don't matter, right? I want to connect with you, right? Like coming super like vulnerably and authentically, whatever that is for us. So like, but when this other stuff comes into the space, I find that I begin to shut down, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want you to do that. But that's just a temporary container, really, to do the deeper work, so that that doesn't even like, if we're saying that manifestation is true or not true, like this, not saying that it is, isn't, or whatever it is, but we're saying that the concept of manifestation, I'm going to keep manifesting these experiences until we come to a place where that healing is integrated. And then it just, there's like no need for a boundary anymore, and there's no need for the agreements anymore, because it's integrated. And now mom and I are like so much, and I can speak, my mom's on the call, like we can speak in from a place where we can actually say, oh, this is happening again. Just a little gentle reminder. I love you so much. We don't need to do that, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. And there's not a making wrong, or but I wasn't but I just need to be, and all these different parts that start to come online. So it's really about doing the deeper internal work to see, why does this keep authoring? Why do I keep authoring this into my space? Where are there different beliefs about myself coming from different subs that are generating my experience as a projection into the space that keep showing it over and over? And it's really about approaching it with gentleness. Agreements are really beautiful. And after a period of time, we just set that agreement and say, thank you, agreement. I'm going to put you in my garden. You're going to be a new sunflower now. And I'm going to remember the fondness of this agreement. But now you're a beautiful flower that I can reflect upon.
Yes.
And you'll disappear into the earth again and become another flower for eternity.
Thank you so much. That actually really helped clarify, like, kind of like where I'm at and my next steps. Like, and it's so funny. Like, we always forget. We just need to remember, and that's why I came on this call today.
Yeah.
Same.
So yeah, really quick too, and then because we're kind of going over time right now, but this conversation about boundaries come up a lot in A Course in Miracles, and the first question is, what is it for, right? What is the boundary for? And then, did we set an intention or a goal for this boundary, right? And if we really look at it, then we can see, from the Course's perspective, if I'm creating a boundary to create this sense of safety, to keep something bad out, really what happens is what you resist is just going to persist more into your life. So I'm creating boundaries around this thing that seems to be, that creates a sense of lack of safety for me. But without like actually integrating and healing that part, like the boundaries created, yes, it might keep this one thing out, but all you're doing is inviting more of the same into your life by creating a boundary that is for like protection, which really, when we get to the sense of the I, there is nothing that needs to be protected from, because all these other sub-personalities, from them or from me, it's not them anymore. Like, I'm not creating this boundary to keep them out, right? I'm creating so that right now I have a sense, I have time and space to be able to heal this sub-personality that I seem to have some kind of trauma with. So yeah, it's, again, like I think Adam said it beautifully, is like, we create these things, create these boundaries so that we can heal from it, so that the boundary is no longer needed anymore. Exactly. Right? It's like at one point someone's like, I use this example all the time because it's very easy. It's like, Alex, you got an ugly red shirt on. I'm like, I'm wearing a black shirt, first of all. Like, it doesn't bother me at all, right? But there's a different version of me, a sub-personality. If I experience something in the past, I'm going to be like, oh, now I'm going to take offense to that, right? I'm going to take a lot of offense to that, and then we're going to go get combative over it. So everything is relative in that way. And if you can get to a point where you don't feel that level of trigger around it, it's like, okay, cool, whatever, your red shirt's ugly. I'm like, all right, I don't feel any energy around it.
Right.
So I don't need the boundary. Maybe at one point when I was younger and I was very like about my, whatever ego, right? And when I definitely at one point when I was a big jock in high school, anything would trigger me into a fight. So perhaps at that time that was a boundary that's needed. But as you heal and grow from it, you don't need that boundary anymore, because that boundary was to create something that's really like an illusion. And if you continue to reinforce that, it just becomes real. Like, we're becoming the sub-personalities now. We're making those things more true. So, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I want to. You guys have a little process you guys want
I
to
mean,
give
we
us?
do, and we also want to honor the time.
Yeah, we
You
don't
don't have
have
to.
to,
You don't
but
have to.
we wanted to gift that to you, and maybe we want to honor
Well,
your time,
we
Alex.
can do a your follow up call. People can come to that
Yep.
and have a actual experience around it. I think you know I became much more clear about psychosynthesis, and even through what we're shared on here today, I became more clear about Course in Miracles. So I think there is some really great alignment in this space, and yeah, I'm excited to be a part of this journey as well. And for anybody else that's interested, I think you already put the things in the chat, right?
Yeah, we put it over there.
Yep.
We were going to do our kickoff call today, but we actually moved it 2 weeks to Monday,
It's
December
Thanksgiving weekend,
15th,
y'all.
because we're
Yeah.
still enrolling people. So if you are interested, if there's anything within you that feels like a calling to go deeper into this work, reach out to us. If you want to put our emails there, you can also send us an email. Let's connect. Let's talk about it. We're doing a soft start in 2 weeks, and then we really get started at the second week of January. So there's still time if you are thinking about this. And then at some point, we'll have to close the journey, and then we'll reopen again next year. So
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
it is. I love that. It's a whole year journey. And for anybody that is even thinking about, if this remotely interests you, I would invite you to dive full in because the Purple Eagle Tribe is the truth. The Purple Eagle Tribe. I mean, our community is just amazing. And I would love to just kind of, right now, I know some people have gone through it. I know some people are in the Purple Eagle Tribe with us here. So anybody want to just, and this is not planned. Anybody want to just like unmute yourself and share about, either the tribe or the alchemy of self and what your experience has been with the Purple Eagle Tribe.
Yeah, I'd love to share. Actually, that's why I put my hand up. I just
Nice.
wanted to say, like, what an immense process going through it. Being part of the first group was so powerful and such a beautiful way of being. And now I get to have that tool, these tools, not just one tool, but multiple tools in order to walk through myself gracefully through life a little bit easier. And I just want to express my thanks and my love to Adam and Claudia for the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful space they hold. And thank you, Alex.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother. I know there's more people eager to brag and share about the Purple Eagle Tribe. Let's go. Let's hear it.
Thank you, brother.
As mom, I can definitely brag on these two. Having also been in the first cohort, it is amazing. They made it very clear in what they shared this morning. I pray it was for everyone. But it is, like Claudia said, it's not linear. It's an ongoing thing. You get the tools and then you can keep going. And I said to someone else in the chat, it's like, and you're not alone doing it. You have the structure of tribe within the tribe. You have that safe space to be able to explore, and you can call and go, I have no idea what's going on, and then leave the call. And there's moments. Everybody has a moment of something like that, and hey, it's never too late either.
Mm.
The it works. You just get to apply the tools. So I
Yeah.
encourage anybody even curious to be a wholehearted yes.
Yes, thank you so much. And we are going to be posting also, we have a chat group that's just for the alchemy of self, people that are interested in. So we have like a one place where you can connect with us. Adam is going to post it so you can also join that
Yeah.
WhatsApp group.
Love
And
it.
it's super, super dope to walk this journey with a group of people over a period of time. And we create a container as we come into the journey about, showing up and following through. And we're not just place of advice giving, like this container to be able to navigate through. And, noticing that, like, I would just love to give a gift today before Jessica shares, like, just allow yourself over the day to just notice where you can relax a little bit more. Just throughout the day, like, am I relaxed right now? Just ask that question. Am I relaxed? And just notice the tension that we naturally carry in this Western civilization, in this world, and just find that there is so much ease, and then be able to say to ourselves, this new easeful place is my natural way of being, and that's what comes of this course, is like a natural way of being, of ease and relaxation. So if somebody comes up and says, Alex, that fucking red shirt is ugly, and you're just like, I love you, bro. Like there's nothing, there's no fight here, and it's not just words. Jess Garcia, what?
Well,
Forget
hold on.
about
Before Jess goes, I also want to present into how amazing that you get to do this work with your mom.
Oh my
And
God.
like to be able to
Yeah.
do this work, and to, that is just something that's really beautiful. And I wish that and pray that for everyone, that they get to have,
Yeah.
be
Word.
able to go on a journey like this with shared tools, between, parent and child, and
Lineage, yeah.
lineage. And
Whole fam.
Yeah.
one of the most beautiful things in the Purple Eagle tribe that I've ever experienced with us is when we had 3 lineages together, 3 from
Oh,
grandma
yes.
to mom to
was
cousin
awesome.
to grandkid. Like, oh my God, that was really beautiful. So, just know that, like, this is a tribe that, our focus is for you to remember who you are, and to have a place that you
come
call home. You call home. Yeah. So,
That's it.
all right, Jess, let's hear
you.
your
Okay.
enthusiastic
Yeah.
share.
You know it. You know I had to open up that mic for this, all right? And I just wanted to say, after I did the trainings over 7 years ago, I always knew gratitude trainings opened up something for me, and I knew that there was something else. There was next level. And thank you, Alex, for the past 7 years holding that space down until you finally last year introduced me to the Purple Eagle tribe. Last December, it's going to be a year now, and you guys were just getting ready to launch that Alchemy of Self, and I questioned about it, but I was not ready. It took me a year of integration with the tribe, with all of you, for me to get to the point where I'm ready now. I am so ready, and the fact that I have so many amazing humans that are going to be on this journey with me, Alex and Mike, and just so many amazing people. So thank you so much for the space. Alex, thanks for holding it down for me until you put Claudia and Adam in my path, and I'm so excited for what's next now.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
It's gonna be epic, and you're amazing. Thank you, sister. So excited to go on the journey.
Word. Hashtag Jess Electric.
All the space that Adam and Claudia holds is, is second to none. It's epic. And, I feel like part of my purpose in my life is just to bring more epic people into the Purple Eagle tribe and meet Adam and Claudia. So it's part of my mission in life.
Same.
I'll share. I'll definitely share on this one.
Who's that? That sounds
So-
like Mr. Wall.
Sorry.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging until this time.
It's me. Yeah, so I met Adam and Claudia, I want to say in September. So it's been fairly recent. And what I've experienced through the Purple Eagle tribe is like a sense of comfort, a sense of safety in the space that they provide. Being able to get vulnerable and just share in such a short amount of time, just feeling, in my heart, like this was where I needed to be. And, I'm all in, with Purple Eagle tribe, and then Alex, of course, like the ultimate connector of souls. I just believe so much in this work, and I can't wait to go on this journey. And something that Claudia had said about just kind of moving through silence, that's something that I'm learning now. Like the more, when Mikhail shared, it brought up some things that I was going through as well, like trying to explain what was happening to me, and people like looking at me like, oh, what happened? And it's like, no, it's not a bad thing. Like, it's a good thing. But, I think being more like just moving in silence is definitely the way I feel like I need to be in order for me to not question what's actually going on, because then that's when the questions I start doubting, like, is this really what I should be doing? Or, because when I bring it to the, out to, the people that I hold dear to my heart, and I'm like, oh, you guys should do this, and they're kind of like, yeah, I don't know. being just like just holding space and being able to be that light for somebody and not necessarily having to have them come on board is just as powerful as trying to get some people like, hey, this is where everybody needs to be. They'll show up when they're ready. I guess that's right.
Exactly.
No premature
The teacher
transcendence here.
appears, right?
Yep.
The teacher appears when they're ready, and there's no coincidence that this call is happening at this time.
Yeah.
And I love it. So that's what I have to say. And in my
so
short
beautiful.
time with them, like it's been amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, brother. I love that.
Yeah.
And yeah, let the work speak for itself. That's
Yep.
what I believe,
That's it.
right?
And you know what
Just
you
let
need
it-
more in those times? You need what we call remembrancers, right? They're like your community, your people that remember for you also. Remember your greatness and hold you to it and help you, build, like you can lean on the community and your remembrancers until you're able to stand on your own, So this is what I love about our community, and yeah, I would invite everybody to check that out and to attend it. Now, before we, thank you all for staying for all this time, and we do have an event January 8th to the 10th, Legends Breakthrough event in Las Vegas. Invite everybody to attend that as well. If you're watching the replay or if you're here, go to legendsbreakthrough.com and use the code FAMILY to get 50% off the ticket. And you definitely want to get this sooner than later because, there's limited space and it's a really, really amazing 3-day event that we put on. So that's going to be in Vegas. So,
Sweet.
Yes.
Cool. Any last
Amazing.
thoughts before
Thank
from you
you.
guys? This has been long
From
overdue.
us. Wow, just so much gratitude. Thank you. Like this has been profound. We feel ready now that we have our Alchemy of Self offering. We feel ready to just, shine that offering to the world and help humanity, right? Find more peace and freedom. And I'm just feel so blessed, really, in the energy of gratitude from this Thanksgiving week. Just feel so blessed for the amazing people that surround me and that, we've been touched by this work and now we can tangibly support human beings with their, inner freedom and joy.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for opening the space for us.
Yeah, it means a lot, Alex. I've shared it with a few close friends that I finally found something in the psychosynthesis framework that it's like I can put on my tweed jacket with my leather patches and my whatever you call this kind of hat and all the thing and like devote myself to a framework, to a path. Whereas like there's the medicine path and there's this ACIM path, but it's like it brings it all together, it brings it home. So then to be able to actually be received and be invited to be here with you, Alex, because of you, and then and Spirit and us, and also our connection, but then everybody else who hung back with us this whole time.
Yeah, so grateful.
It means a lot. It has my heart feel like little butterflies floating all over the place. And I just give so much gratitude to being open to this relatively newer concept in the world and how beautiful that it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love it.
Yes,
Amazing.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Very good. Okay. Well, this has been epic. I'm really honored for the time that we got to share together here to do this one more time.
Yes.
And, always a pleasure, always grateful for it. And for everyone that's witnessing and listening to this call and, a part of our journey, so much blessing, so much gratitude to you guys as well. Blessings. And I look forward to continuing to see what this journey unfolds for us, and may all of our challenges and obstacles and sub-personalities be lessons for us rather than a war room, right? Let it be a classroom rather than a battlefield. So
Yes, sir.
okay, much
Wonderful.
love
Thank
to
you. Many
everybody.
blessings.
Have a fantastic
Thank
Sunday.
you.
See you guys
Sunday. Thank
Yeah.
you for tuning in.
Good to see you all.
We got to do it again soon.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you,
Room
everybody.
for
Bye.
remembering. Thank you guys.